Hey crew, what's going on? I was asked to do this video. Um, Not saying that I'm not enthused to do the video. I want to do the video. It's just that it's a lot of information, and I understand it may be for somebody that may be more geekier, if you will, that's into radio and radio communications. But because I am part of Farm Fresh 24/7, and you all should download the app. Those of you that follow me, go to the App Store right now and download Farm Fresh 24/7. It's a great community-based app, and you can meet up with local growers and makers in your area. And if there are none in your area, and you're the first one, and you don't necessarily have to be a farmer. You could be a nurse, doctor, an auto mechanic, a small engine repair person, a logger. Uh, you might be in the forestry, land clearing, whatever. Get on the app. Introduce yourself. You can horse trade and barter with people, or you can offer your services. So it's good. Collectively sustainable is another part of Farm Fresh 24/7. You have to become a member or a person of Farm Fresh 24/7, and then at that point you can move over to something like Collectively Sustainable and get into all the cool things. So this part I'm actually doing is more so for Collectively Sustainable and our community, but I'm also doing this for my people on YouTube that follow me, and I appreciate you all. So I should have started off with that. I'm a growing channel. I only have 50 subscribers, and I'm thankful, that you guys subscribe and follow and watch my videos and all that. I am gratitude. Thank you for the comments, and questions and all of that. So, man, I couldn't do it without you. I'm a long way from 1,000, but or a couple of thousand, whatever the case may be. But I am grateful for what I have, and if I'm reaching 50 of you guys or 100 of you guys, I'm still appreciative. So what we're going to get into today is radios, and why should you have an emergency radio? So let's address that real quick. I have notes. I keep notes on my tablet, and I keep notes on old school, written in a book. So I keep notes in both areas in case something happens. So if tablet goes down, I still have those notes in my book, because you're not going to always remember everything about these radios, all the time. You're going to remember the basics, and I'm going to try, and forgive the noise, but, I'm going to try and cover the basics. Let me explain this. I am by no means a total expert on radios and stuff like that. I haven't geeked out to that point where I'm into all of it. I did take electronics courses. I have an electronics degree, and I was a system technician. So at one point in time, I did work with point-to-point radios, Proxims, and diodes, and the whole nine. I worked for a company out of Indiana at one point where we were installing, using radio for telephone communication. So we would have to go up on roofs and climb towers and put up panels so people can make phone calls and all of that. And I also did, alarm systems and fire systems, and those always required resistors and things like that, which I'm not going to get into. That's more for people that want to get into ham radio. So let me explain. Ham radio is different from GMRS radio, and I'm going to get into all of that. Ham actually stands for the three men that kind of came up with the concept of the radio. You know, it's their initials. That's in my book. I don't have that with me. I would give you their names, but you know, it's in my book in the other room, and I'm not going to get it. But I'm just telling you, that's basically what ham is. It's the initials of the founders of the whole radio situation. I think they met at a university or a college, and they all got together and created that system. Ham is also one that you have to have a license for. Why? Because the frequency range is broad, and they would prefer that you know what you're doing when you're on it, because your radios, your ham radios, can interfere with airlines, fire and emergency situations where it, you know, in police situations, and you're on there chattering and they're trying to have some emergency things worked out, and you're talking and interrupting and the whole nine, and it's very FCC regulated. You know, it's no different than being an on-air personality or working on a radio station. That's why radio stations have call signs and frequencies, because they pay for so much of that bandwidth or frequency for their station. You see what I'm saying? And if they bleed over into somebody else's state, they can be fined for that. If they interrupt somebody else's broadcast with their broadcast, they can be fined for that. And it's the same thing with a ham radio. A GMRS radio is different, and that's what we're going to talk about today for most people. So this is a Baofeng. This is the most popular radio for preppers right now is Baofeng. Okay. It's an awesome radio.
Frequency mode.
It's in frequency mode right now. You can also put this in channel mode. So this radio could go into frequency and channel mode. I like this one. So I can go, this one will do ham for me, and this one will do GMRS communication as well. This is a regular walkie-talkie. And this is made by Rectivus or Retrievus, or however you want to pronounce them. It's Rectivus, I think is how you pronounce it. RETCVIS, Rectivus. This is just remember, a regular walkie-talkie is line of sight. Meaning, if you have a bigger antenna, you may be able to reach a little bit more in distance, maybe a few more 100 yards or a few more miles. Most radios like this work by line of sight, and that's why a lot of people get radio antennas put on their roof, or they set them on top of their cars to get more range. If you have brick buildings, a lot of trees, mountains, buildings with a lot of steel in them, sometimes you will have reception problems with point-to-point radios. Not saying they're not good. You know, they don't bounce off repeaters or anything like that. They just, if somebody else has a radio and we're sharing the same channel, and I'm in a line and still in line of sight, they can hear me for as long as we're in line of sight. If they move out of sight, and what that means is, when people think it's visual, what it means is sight of the transmission and received frequency. Okay, so if that frequency is traveling from this radio to this radio, and they're that far apart, they're going to keep hearing each other. The further and further they get away, it may get a little weaker, or it may stay the same. If it has to pass through me, let's say I'm big as a house and it has to pass through me, say I'm a building, then it may be a little sketchy. You might catch some things, you might not. You may have to say, well, wait, let me move around. Same way with your cell phone. When you say, well, hey, you know what? I'm not hearing you. Let me move over here. Well, wait a minute. I'm not hearing you. Let me move over here. That's kind of the line of sight theory. You know, you trying to get into the line of sight of that satellite, So it can bounce off that satellite and send your transmission to the other person on the other end of the phone. So now let's get into some basics, and I'm gonna go off of my notes because I got a lot of them, and I'm kind of doing this video impromptu. You know, if you have any questions, put the questions in the chat box. You know, when you after the video or whatever. And again, I know I'm going to have some radio people come on here that are a lot more advanced than me, may know a lot more than me. Remember, I put my disclaimer out there. I just know I prefer GMRS radios over ham radios. Am I going for my ham license? Absolutely. Why? Just because I just want to have my ham license. And yes, it's very lengthy. It's a little costly. And you're really going to have the attention span. If you're really into these electronics and things of that nature, then ham is for you. And not saying that ham is a bad thing, because if you go on YouTube, you'll see it's many debates and arguments over ham versus GMRS, and having a license and not having a license, and the technical, and you're going to have people that's going to have all this technical knowledge of everything, and you're going to be sitting there like, so GMRS radio is good for the average Joe, and you don't have to have a license. Can you get a license for it? Absolutely, but you don't have to have one, right? You know, you do have to follow FCC rules. You can't be on here goofing off and, you know, stepping over people and being disrespectful and all of that, because that is a violation. But at the end of the day, they are fun radios. And the reason why they're cool is because they operate off of channels instead of frequencies. All right. You can program a channel into these radios.
Welcome.
You can you hear it? It just said here. I'll turn it up so you put it closer to the mic.
Welcome. Channel mode.
So channels, most of these radios can have up to about 22 channels. So think about it that way. If you want to understand what GMRS means, is General Mobile Radio Service. General Mobile Radio Service. Why should you have these? If you go camping, and we just had these where I had my point-to-point radios when we went. If you check out the video in the past where we went camping on, you know, just go down my timeline and find the camp out video where we went camping. You know, I handed out some of these radios, so, you know, when guys were walking through the woods and stuff like that, every so many 50 yards, 30 yards, we did a radio check to see what the distance was and were we able to hear each other. Why is that important? Well, if somebody got hurt or you know, if they had some kind of wild animal attack or whatever, they're able to radio back to base, which is where a lot of us were, you know, because some people went out hiking and, you know, things like that. We made sure they had a radio in case something happened and we had to ride to them and they give us a location to where they are and all of that, you know. So that's one reason why you should have one. Another reason is that with a ham and a GMRS radio, you can hear a lot of chatter about what's happening in your area, you know, when you put it on scan mode. So I know a lot of people had these radios and they had these buttons on them, and that's what I kind of want to jump into. And again, should you have one in your home? Yes, I don't care if you live in an apartment. I don't care if you live in a house. I don't care if you live in a city. Have one or two of these radios. You know, because if cell phone service goes out, you can have the radios. I like CB radios, so I like GMRS and I like CBs. There are people that totally don't like CB radios. I like CB radios. Citizen band. That's what CB stands for. Citizen band radios. Citizen band. And back in the day, it's the old breaker. The truck drivers have them, and they pull them down, and they talk on them, and they have the little squiggly pigtail going into the unit and the mic and all of that. I have one. I have 2 or 3 of them in my garage. I just didn't bring them out, and one I keep in my truck. And I have a base station that, you know, God rest his soul, that I had got inherited to me from my father, because he was heavy into it. My father was a ham radio operator. And that's another reason why I'm probably going to go for my ham, because he was a ham radio operator. Do I have my GMRS license? Yes, I do. And I have a call sign. But again, with GMRS, it's not required. So if you're fishing, you're camping, you're hiking, you're skiing, these are cool radios to talk on. You don't have to have a call sign. You don't have to be licensed. You could just get on there and say, hi, this is Chuck. I'm over by the lake, and I caught that big catfish. Anybody copy, or come on over? And somebody say, you know, you release, and that's, you know, you release. I got these radios open now, but let's say right here is your push to talk button. Your push to talk button. So when you see PTT, PTT means push to talk. When you push and talk, you hold the button down, you talk, you say what you got to say, release the button, you may hear a chirp. There are settings on the radio so you can hear that chirp, that bloop. You know, when you click, you might hear a bloop. When you release, you'll hear a bloop. You see, or a beeping sound. And remember, nobody can transmit to you effectively if you're still holding the button down. You won't hear what they're saying. So you have to push this button right here in, do your transmission, try and make it brief, to the point and brief. Hi, this is Chuck. I'm stuck on the mountain. I need help. Anybody copy? Release. And then give somebody an opportunity to respond. The bigger the antenna, the more range you have. This is a flexible folding antenna. I can fold this up and just put it in my pocket, or I can put, you know, unscrew one of these. Some of these radios come with their antennas fixed on, and you can't take them off. Like this Retrievers, this is a fixed antenna. You can't screw it off. You can't change it, but you could do it on the bow fangs. Okay. So let me jump to some things. So we know most of these radios are 22 channels. The megahertz that they run through, if you guys are interested, is 462 to 467 megahertz. Okay, on average. The radios, most of these radios are 5-watt radios. They have some that's like half, and then they have some that's just a little bit stronger. But for the most part, these radios are 5 watts. They're not going to push any more than 5 watts. And I think that had a lot to do with battery capacity and not just wanting to overload or burn up the radios. You know, again, you radio experts on here that know more than me, you can comment. Let's not be nasty, because I've seen on a lot of other channels where people have talked about radio stuff, and some of the comments you got, you guys take this personally, like you made the radios or something. So just bring it down. We're all here to help each other. And again, so most of them are 5 watts. FCC limits it to, like, I think it's what, 50 watts? Yeah, 50 watts on a radio, you know, is the maximum limit. I'm trying to see. So on some of these, you can, like on some GMRS radios, you can pick up walkie-talkies if you guys can get on the right channel. There's an app that helps you figure out channels and codes and frequencies, and I'll post that somewhere on screen, where you can get the app and you load it to your phone and you squeeze your radio and release, and or somebody's transmitting a code. And I know I'm jumping a little ahead, and this is a little bit more sophisticated. Some of these radios come with codes, and the codes can be programmed in the radio in such a way when you go into your menu mode helps you to access all the different functions of your radio. So let's use this one for an example.
Frequency mode.
I'm in frequency mode now, and you see that color is purple. I can change the colors of this radio to purple, to orange, to blue, to red, I believe, or something like that. But like my receive, so when somebody sends me something, I'm gonna see what you guys saw when I first turned it on, which is that, I believe that, is it purple or orange? Let's see. It's purple. It's purple. When I squeeze to transmit, it should change colors. See, it went to that orange color. Well, you can make that happen. All you got to do is go into your menu mode, go into, where it has the settings for color, and I'm going to give you that. Don't panic. I'm going to give you that. And what you do at that point, you say, well, I want my receive color to be orange, and I want my transmit color to be purple. So if ever you're sitting down and you see orange flashing, somebody's transmitting. They may not be transmitting to you, but somebody's transmitting. Sometimes you'll see it turn orange and you won't hear anything, and that might be because you're out of range or they're out of range. So, but it's a cool thing to have, so when you send, you're going to see your screen change to purple because now you're transmitting. And that's another way to help you remember if you released your push to talk button, because if you're still purple and you're waiting for somebody to come back and you say, oh shoot, I'm still holding my button down. When you let your button go, then it's going to go back to the gray screen until they transmit, and then it's going to turn orange. So hopefully you followed me on that. So get out a pencil and paper, because I'm going to run through these things. And I should have told you that at the beginning of the video. Get a pencil and paper, get a book, pull out your notepad on your phone, or whatever you want to do, and I'm going to run through these because I don't want this to be an overly long video. It's a lot, but I'm doing this for the community, and I'm doing it for you guys that are interested, okay? Okay, so I'm going to go into different things like this. Regular channels 1 through 6. Most of these radios have 6 channels. Some of them have 8 channels. And regular walkie-talkies can be picked up by GMRS radios. And that's what they mean. So you will have, on average, for a basic GMRS radio, at least 1 through 6 channels that it will pick up on just basic walkie-talkie talk. All right. SQL settings is 1 through 5. Okay, your SQL is like your squelch. Like when you get on the radio and let's say you guys have watched some police shows and you hear them talk on the radio and they go chick, chick. That's that squelch. You can get into your menu mode. You can get into the menu mode of your radio, go into SQL, and it has a numeric from 1 to 5. I believe 1 being the strongest, or is it the lowest? Let me see. 1 allows all signals. So basically it's like a CB radio. When you change your squelch, when you adjust your squelch, it won't let in certain muddy signals, like real raspy, muddy type signals, and you like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that. So 1 allows all the signals to come in, whether they strong, good, bad, ugly, all the way to 5 to your clearest, crystal clear signal. So it is up to you how you set that on your radio. Okay. So remember, if you wanna change your squelch or whatever the case may be, and Remember, 1 is allowing every kind of signal to come in, whether it's dirty or whether it's clear. 2 cleans it up a little bit more. 3 cleans it up a little bit more. 4 cleans it up even better. And 5 cleans it all the way up. But that just means only certain signals are going to get through to you. So I would recommend that you keep it on 1. Just that simple. All right. The other one is called Step. And these are all things that you're going to see in your menu mode. It's called. So another one is called Step. Okay, Step scanning is scanning frequencies, all right? So when you put it in Step mode, Step allows your radio, let's say you turn on your radio and you hit your Step mode. Step will scan frequencies and it'll stop once it finds somebody transmitting. You know, it'll stay on and it'll scan all the channels, all the frequencies, scan. And then if somebody starts talking, then it'll stop and let you hear what that transmission is. Okay. TXP is transmit power. That's just your transmit power. So again, you're going to find that in your menu section. Where's your menu section? Is located right here on your radio. Typically right up under there. Can you guys see that? So it's under your A and B. It's under your A and B, and then right here, depending on if you have this radio or not, and you go into menu mode and you just scroll through. Once you go into menu mode, you hit menu mode, then you have these up and down arrows on your radio. And the up and down arrows help you to maneuver through what you're looking for on your radio. It's pretty, you know, in your menu section. And exit is exit when you want to exit out of everything and just come out. So just keep that in mind. So that's just your transmit power, you know. Do you need it? No. So I'm gonna jump past that. Do you need to really? Do you want to just know about it? You can. VOX is like voiceover, so it's like automatic talk. You typically don't want to leave your radio on VOX because what happens is it's just like having your phone wide open on speakerphone and everybody can hear your conversation. One, that's not good because if somebody's trying to get something through and that channel is constantly open, they can't get anything through because they're hearing your chatter constantly. Now, if you're in a situation where you're injured and you may just have enough juice to, you know, operate your radio just a little bit and you absolutely have to leave it on voice mode just because you're in a situation where you can't use your hands or you might be working on somebody or helping somebody, the VOX might be a good option for you to use. Again, it's in your menu mode. Everything that I'm naming to you for the most part is in menu mode. Okay. And so again, and it goes through, the VOX goes through 1 through 10 too. So y'all got to bear with me because I'm going through my notes. I'm really trying to go through my notes, guys, to find what's really going to be relevant for you. The backlight, we just kind of went over that. Your backlight is your ABR. So your ABR is your display illumination, and it goes, and you know, meaning your display illumination again is that color. This is the display. This is the display, and it's illuminating the color purple, right? So that's what ABR is. ABR, if you want to change those colors and things like that, it's ABR. All right, and you can set in the ABR also how long you want that to stay displayed. Mine is 1 or 2 seconds. So I believe it's actually 1 second. But if you want it to display longer, 3 seconds, you have from 1 to 10. So you can set it anywhere from 1 to 10. and that display color will stay that color until it times out. Your TOT is your transmission timeout. It's about roughly 60 seconds. It keeps your radio from overheating or loss of battery. So you definitely want to make sure that your TOT is on where you don't drain your battery, or let's say you have it on some gear on a plate carrier or a vest, and something's constantly pressing against the button and keying, and it's running your battery down. So just be careful of that, or when you put them in your backpacks and you leave them turned on, be careful that nothing is pressing against your push to talk button. Okay, so we're not gonna go into those things because that's too technical. I'm trying to see some things that would be real practical for you guys. So we're going into the screen colors. So your screen colors, they're orange, blue, purple, right? Orange, blue, purple. So write these down. REX, LED, REX, LED, receive color. That means if you're receiving, REX, LED is where you could go in and in your menu section and pick your receive color. Meaning, if somebody sends you a signal or a transmission, that color may come in orange and may come in purple. You can pick that color. Your TX LED is your transmission color. That means you could go in there and change your transmission color. Like you just saw my transmission color was purple. My receive color was orange. Right? My WT LED, that is my standby color. So you can pick your standby color. If you don't want your screen just to sit and look gray, you can pick a standby color. Your standby color could be, orange or purple or whatever, Alarm mode, you really don't need for general purposes. I won't get into that. No more than I'll give you the idea of what it's about. I can tell you what it's about, and then you can decide from that point. Basically, the alarm mode for your radio is if, say, you're hiking or something's going on at home, and you squeeze, and when you transmit, it transmits that alarm, that signal out to the person. You can hear it, and things like that, and it will notify the other person like, hey, I'm in trouble, which is kind of goes into that code situation where you can go in and program certain numbers, and those numbers can identify a person or a radio. So I might be going to my radio and go in the menu and set my codes, you see what I'm saying, or tone. So let's say, how can I go over this? Tone transmit over air. So AL mode codes, they're called AL mode, AL, Adam Lincoln, AL modes. The AL modes transmits a DTMF tone code. It's very crisp over the air, everybody can hear it. It could be set in your chirp mode. So when you go into your chirp mode, you can set it in your chirp mode. Is it necessary? No, not for basic radio. I mean, if you just, that's the beauty of GMRS radios, is the fact that you don't need to do all of that stuff. You can come up with your own codes. You can program your own channels. Not saying that other people may not pop up on those channels or anything like that. They may hear your conversation, they may not. Certain coding can go in there where if they don't know your code, You can hear their chatter, or they can hear your chatter, but you will not be able to talk to each other if you go into your code mode and you have a certain code that you program in where you and your group are the only ones that can push through. But can you hear their conversations? Absolutely. Can you talk back to them and then they talk to you? More than likely not. No. So I kind of like the code idea when you're doing stuff like that. You can have radio towers put up in, depending, now if you're HOA, I wouldn't recommend it unless you get permission from your HOA, to put up a radio tower in your backyard just to give you more frequency. Or you can, sometimes you could get an antenna and put it on the roof of your garage. Again, if you're in an HOA area, you may have to get permission. If you own your own home, you're sitting in the woods, you're sitting on your property like, my wife and I are, then you can do whatever you want to do, because who's going to see it? And nobody but you and the birds and the coyotes and everything else that walks through the property, and the deer. So those are things that you can consider. These radios also come with a flashlight. See? And those come in handy when you're trying to see, or you hit, and that's the button right up under your push to talk. See, here you have your push to talk, and right here is where your flashlight would be. Then I hit it again, it should give me a SOS. See? And you see how when I hit that button, that display turned purple, because it's like a transmit. I hit it again, and it stops. So that's cool. Your bands. This band is, when you see on the screen, you're going to see two sets of numbers. And those numbers are going to change. So if I hit it right now, it's going to keep changing the bands, the frequencies that I have saved in here. See, I don't know if you guys can see that. The AB, each one, you can have a channel up here and a channel down here, or a frequency up here and a channel on some of these radios. So that's what your AB is for. So if I want to transmit, so let me see what my A is on here. Somebody's transmitting on this channel right now. So my A, when I hit A, it goes to the very top channel, top number. You see that? If I hit A, if I hit B, let me go back. If I hit B, it's going to go to that bottom frequency and or channel. And the reason why I'm saying frequency and or channel, because ham and GMRS have a 2-layer frequency or a 2-layer channel. Now, when you go to your channel, you can program your channel. You can scan and find a channel that you're comfortable with, or you can key in a channel and have somebody else key in the same channel, and you all will be able to communicate with each other. To find certain radios, you have to go through a code system or a reader where you key up, and you can put this on your cell phone device, and it will pick up what this is broadcasting on. If it's 00134 dash whatever, then you can program it into your other radios and be able to talk to people. Like when we went camping, I was able to talk to people on the walkie-talkie through my GMRS radio, because I already had put those codes in my radio to help me to communicate with these walkie-talkies. So again, that's another plus to these radios, especially the GMRS, is if somebody has 10 or 12 walkie-talkies and there's only 4 or 5 GMRS radios, So they got 10, you got 4, you got a total of basically 14 radios. You see what I'm saying? Except your GMRS is going to be able to pick up multiple types of radios. I mean, multiple types of channels, more channels than your walkie-talkie. Most walkie-talkies are limited between 6 and 8 channels. These are up to 20, you know. So, or at least 20, 22. Let me make sure, because I don't want to tell you guys any ring, and I don't want my radio jockeys coming in here, you know, saying a whole bunch of okay. So yeah, just want to double check that. 22. So most of them are 22. CBs, I've had CBs. Most of my CBs go up to 20 some odd channels, and stuff like that. And we'll get into talking about CBs and your emergency channels and your trucking channels and all of those kind of things. And they're good to have, and they bounce off repeaters, and some work off a line of sight as well. So your frequency radios, your ham radios, they're gonna bounce. They're gonna hit repeaters and different things like that. What are repeaters? All it is a go between from your trans. So if I'm a repeater, if something sends a signal, it's gonna hit me. I'm gonna take whatever was just said and repeat it back out to the atmosphere, and whoever can pick that up is going to be able to pick it up and hear it. That's basically all a repeater does. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, I recommend the Biofangs. The Biofangs are the prepper's choice. You can get more updated Retrievers radios that'll have a lot more bells and whistles to them. How do you find a GMRS radio versus a ham radio? It's very simple. When you go to Amazon or Best Buy or any store that carries radios and CBs, you say, I would like to have a GMRS radio. If you're going to look for them online, then you type in GMRS, handheld radios. Just that simple. If you want to do ham radios, then you type in ham radio. And when you go to the store, you ask for ham radios. If you want dual band type radios that handle GMRS and ham, you can ask for those dual band type radios. They're creating a lot more cool new ones I've started reading about, and things of that nature. And again, if any pros on here that are better than me, I misquoted something, let me know. I'm not saying I'm the begin all and end all. I'm been dealing with radios for a while, but I'm still a little fresh with it, and I'm learning and updating just like everybody else out here. Am I a hardcore radio geek where I'm sitting under them all day? No, I'm not. I typically turn mine on at least once or twice a week just to listen to the chatter and to talk to people in my area, in my general area, where we all communicate with each other and just shoot the shit. We're just talking. And hey, what's happening on your end of town, and what's happening on your end of town? I'm on my way to the store. Hey, I just bought this, or I just got that. So that's why I like GMRS radios, because you can do that. You can do it with ham too, but with ham, it's going to require you to have a call sign, and you're going to have to activate that call sign every 15 minutes or so, when you're chattering. With GMRS, you don't have to go through that. You can get a call sign. I have a call sign for GMRS, but you don't necessarily have to have one to talk on them. And most GMRS guys will laugh at you when you start getting in there, doing your call too much, and, your Alpha Lincoln, Charlie, blah, blah, blah. And then there's just like, okay, you don't necessarily have to do that. You can announce it one time when you come on air, and then after that, hey Charlie, hey Bob, hey Sue, hi Tom, hi Jenny, and just talk. It's just that simple. With ham, there are a lot more protocols, there are a lot more rules, and it can be very strenuous. A lot of people, have to really mentally get ready to take that test because it asks you a lot of technical questions. It's going to ask you a lot of things about, resistors and diodes and things of that nature, and frequencies and waves and all of that kind of stuff. And, if you're into that and that's something that you really want to do, then by all means do it. Ham radio is a great tool. They're fun. You can talk to people all over the country. You can talk to somebody in China, in Paris, in Germany, anywhere on a ham radio. GMRS radios are just good for locality and emergency radio use. Say you want to send your wife or your husband out, they have a cell phone, but you also give them a GMRS radio because, again, something could happen to the cell phone. They might lose it, and the only way they can communicate with you is through the radio. You may have an elderly person at home and their phones go out or whatever, and you can possibly communicate with them through your GMRS radio. All they got to do is keep it on a charger and keep it turned on, or if they lose power, then hopefully they'll realize, okay, let me go turn on my radio in case my children are trying to reach me, or hopefully my mom will turn on her radio, or my grandmom, or my dad, or my brother, or my sister, or my children. They're good to have to communicate with, but remember, there's still that line of sight thing. The higher your antenna, the bigger your antenna, the bigger reach that you have in transmitting and receiving. These numbers on the radio is just what you would use to program your channels or whatever you want to do, or even select. Remember when I say you want to go through 1 through 10, and you say, okay, well, I want 5, then you might want to hit 5 and then hit set, which is going to usually be hitting your menu button again. When you hit your menu button again, it usually accepts whatever you program into it. So you hit your menu button, and you keep hitting your menu button, or you hit your menu button and you hit your up and down arrows that's on here, those up and down arrows, and you look for your squelch, your VOX, your SQL, which I just mentioned, your step, your TXP, which is your transmit to power, your save power. That's save power is good. You don't want it pushing at its maximum, because if you have your radio at its maximum, pushing out, then you're probably going to drain your battery faster. So you're going to see something in there that says save. You're going to see something that says in your menu WN. WN. What is WN? It's wide band, or narrow band. Wide band or narrow band. That's what WN means. Wide band really is self-explanatory. Wide range. I got a wide range. If I go narrow and I narrow my band, then it's going to be a smaller window. So you preferably want to stay on wide band, so don't change that. We went through ABR, which is your backlight illumination, and that's 1 through 10. We went through TOT, which is transmission time out, meaning if you're talking on the radio and you give yourself 60 seconds to say whatever, which is a minute, to say whatever you got to say before it shuts transmission off and shuts you down. Now you can still be holding the button, and you may not hear what they're responding to you, but you're not transmitting any longer. So it's going to give you 60 seconds to say whatever it is that you got to say and release. Once you do that, let them respond, and you go back and say what you got to say and release. A lot of people forget to release. People think that's not true, but it's so. So that's your TOT. When you see TOT in the menu, that's what TOT means. We talked about privacy tones. You can set that if you don't want to, if you don't want to hear everyone's transmissions around you, you can set that. And your T, I'm not going to get it because that's too technical, and I'm not going to get, and there's nothing you're going to use all the time. Okay, CO. We didn't go over CO. So CO will stop when it hears something. SE, this will scan. So CO means it will stop when it hears a particular transmission. SE, Sam Edward, SE, this will scan, stop on the transmission, and hold it until you decide to release the transmission. You don't need to set that. That's an auto setting, meaning if somebody's transmitting, it will hold on that frequency or that channel until you decide to release it and go in your program and say, okay, release that. So you don't want to go through all that. But I'm just letting you know what that's for. So if you see that, that's what it's for. MDF / AB channel, which we talked to the AB channel. That gives you the name or number of a frequency. So you can name your channel to a degree, or and you can name it with a number, or you can name it with a frequency or whatever, or a code, I should say. Then you have BCL, Boy Charles Lincoln, which is Busy Channel Lockout. That's what BCL stands for. Busy Channel Lockout. BCL, Busy Channel Lockout. It won't allow you to transmit while the chatter is happening, regardless if you're in private mode or not. So when you have BCL set, busy channel mode, it won't allow you to say anything, while there's chatter happening on the radio. Meaning if somebody's talking and they're transmitting and you have BCL set, it won't allow you to transmit. And why would you? Why would you want to talk over somebody anyway? RCH, AD is channel add. So when you want to add a channel to your radio, like we were just talking about adding a channel to your radio, you're going to go into the mode where it says RCH, add, AD. RCH, AD is to add a channel. Delete is obvious. DELCH is to delete a channel. RCH is to add a channel. RCH, AD. DEL channel is to delete a channel. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else you need to know about. So that's basically it, man. This is your power on, of course. This is your push to talk buttons on the side right here. This is your emergency mode alarm, which you rarely ever going to use. This button down here is going to operate the light that's up here between the antenna and the on and off button. And A and B toggles between top channel and lower channel, or top frequency, lower frequency, whichever one you want to talk on or whichever one you have set. That's what your AB does. When you go into menu mode, you can keep tapping on menu. Some of them are set where you can just hit menu and menu will advance to certain different things. If it doesn't, then you can hit menu and hit the up and down arrows, and it will go up and down until you find what you want. And then you hit menu and go into however you want to set it, your colors, your numbers, putting in your codes or whatever the case may be. And then exit is exit. Hopefully this has answered some questions. Any other things, different codes, different frequencies and things like that. Those things will be discussed more within the groups that we have internally. For those of you that are in the group watching this video, for my regular fans and followers that follow the channel, please, y'all, get you one or two of them and keep them in your house, and get you a weather radio. And these radios do, especially the hams and the more advanced GMRS radios, will have local weather band services, and they will come through, so you'll know, what's happening in your area as far as weather and fire and tornadoes and hurricanes and things like that. And you can monitor those. That's another time that I've turned on my radios when Carolina and Georgia and a lot of areas started going through the tornadoes and hurricanes. I had this sucker on full blast, listening to everything, on top of having my other radios on that have NOAA, because these radios will have NOAA too. So, which is your national weather, and I call it national weather and emergency. So, but that's pretty much excuse me, what I use NOAA for is just to listen to what's happening in the area, especially when it comes down to weather. You should have at least two of these in your house. Excuse me. And if you guys have children or anything like that, teenagers, try and get a radio for each one of them in the house. You don't have to buy them all at one time. Getting kind of dry in the throat. I should have brought something to drink. I had drank something with a lot of lemon, and now it's just, my throat is just tart dry. But anyway, it has a belt clip, has a strap that you can carry around your wrist or hang off your vest or whatever you want to do, clip on. Remember, these antennas can come off, and you can get them taller, you can get them smaller. You can get them with springs in them, what have you, or you could just get them this size, and put on there. It all depends on your range and what you're trying to reach. And band is band, what depending on what band you're on. Which we just went over that. So hopefully, if I missed anything, if you want to know about this particular antenna, this antenna is called a Bree. A Bree. I'm gonna show it to you. I'm gonna unscrew it. You see how this screws out? And there it is. And get it in range. So these are good antennas to have. You can order them off of Amazon or what have you. You can order these radios. They're not expensive. You can get a set of decent Biofang radios for $50, $60. You can find them as cheap as $40. I've seen them as cheap as $25. It doesn't mean that because you spent a little less money that they're not good radios. They're just affordable right now. They can get up pricey into the hundreds, 150, 200, 99, 89. And sometimes you're going to get with that at least 3 or 4 radios. You might get 5 or 6 radios. Or you might just get 2 radios that, that are very durable, waterproof, shock resistant, all of that kind of stuff. These radios right here are not waterproof, so if you drop them in the water, you might have a problem. But you can order some that are water resistant and or waterproof, or some people claim, they keep them in plastic bags. Some people say that they found cases for them that they can cover the whole radio. I personally haven't seen them. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I haven't seen them, and I haven't looked them up to find out. But they do have radios that are submergible and they won't go out on you, and they're waterproof. I don't recommend. A lot of people are buying these radios where they're talking about, you can hit somebody from anywhere in the world. Those are satellite type radios. and they work like cell phones, and a lot of them have to have chips. You know, you have to get chips put in them in order to communicate, just like with your cell phone. You know, you get a SIM card, you put your SIM card in there. Well, those radios operate the same way. They take SIM cards. Some of them take one SIM card, some of them take 2 or 3 SIM cards. So, and the reason why they do that is because if one SIM card is deactivated or not working or whatever the case may be in the area that you're in, it will immediately skip and jump to the next SIM card, so that call or that transmission can go through, or it'll jump to the next SIM card. So some of them will take 2, some of them take 3, some of them only take 1. They're cool, but again, they're pretty much no more useful than your cell phone. And they kind of operate on the same premise as the cell phone, you know, through satellite. You see what I'm saying? And if satellites come down or fall down or blow up or whatever the case may be, especially communication satellites, then those radios may not work for you. They may have a line of sight, possibly. You know, I haven't bought one to find out. I think one of our community members has one already. But at the end of the day, I'm probably, because I am getting kind of radio geeky, I probably will buy a couple for my wife and I. I like GPS radios as well. I like GPS radios. Those are cool because they'll give out coordinates. You know, they'll give out coordinates and you're still able to communicate. So if you're an avid hiker, camper, something like that, that might be a radio you might want to look into, is one that has all the above features and GPS. Or you could buy you a separate GPS unit and carry it on your body. So if you don't want a radio that's all in one like that, because remember, like most things, the more features, the more things it's able to do, the more battery drain, the more battery power is going to draw. So, but the plus side to it is you're only carrying maybe one piece of equipment versus carrying 2 or 3 pieces of equipment. So now I got to carry my radio, I got to carry my pack, you know, my weapon, and I got to carry my portable GPS. Now, some people have them on their watches, you know, like me, you know, and your compass and stuff like that. So if you got them on your watch, that's good. You know, you can have a GPS on your watch. If you need one that's going to track your steps going somewhere and retrack you back the same way you came, you might want to get into a Magellan or something along that line, and you know, have that for yourself. You know, I love them. They're a little costly. They're anywhere from $89 to $500, depending on the model you get and what you want it to do, and how many satellites it's able to pick up. Some of them pick up a few satellites. I think when you get more into the money, they pick up even more satellites. So if 1 or 2 go down, maybe 2 or 3 over here working, and it's still able to navigate you through something. It just depends on where you are in the world and what's going on. So I hope this helped everybody. You see, I kind of stammered along, and that's only because this was kind of an impromptu video, and I wanted to get it done because I have some other videos that I want to bring to you guys next week. Some things that we're doing here on the property, some things we're making, some things we're building, and some things that I know that you can make at home yourself that are going to be able to help you in the time of crisis. So we're going to deal with that. And these same things you could take with you on a camp out, you know, and things like that. So I'm gonna get into that and what those are, how to DIY those things, do it yourself, and make those things so you don't have to keep shoveling out hundreds of dollars for stuff. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, and I'll catch y'all on the next video. This still was longer than what I wanted it to be, but it's radio. That's what I meant. Radios take time. All right, guys.